All right. Well, John, I'm going to go ahead and hand the call off to you, and then you can rock and roll.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. It's so nice to see you all on a Wednesday afternoon here in 104-degree Dallas, Texas. Hopefully, where you are, it's a little bit cooler. I know we've got people on in Germany, we've got people on in the United Kingdom, the Republic of Ireland, Spain, Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And if I missed any countries, I apologize. But hey, today's going to be an exciting day. So I am going to introduce our first speaker, and you're going to want to listen and take notes. Our next speaker is one of the founders of Immunotech. John worked with Dr. Bunos and Dr. Droege to expand the company's scientific platform and contributed to over 30 medical publications and several patent applications. John played a critical role in our clinical research and human performance, as well as establishing a key strategic partnership with Orico. Oracle is one of the preeminent firms pioneering novel advancements in applied physiology, biostatistics, and cognitive computing to arm coaches, medical practitioners, trainers, and athletes with knowledge and actionable insights to maximize availability as well as sustaining peak performance. John was also instrumental in establishing Immunotech's research initiative on brain health, which has resulted in multiple publications and patent applications in the field, one of which was recently granted in the field of autism. John played a central role in a new brain health study launched in 2018. It is designed to look at Immunotech's effect in mild cognitive impairment. So with that, let me welcome to the call my good friend of 28 years, Mr. John Molson. John, how are you today?
Hi, John.
Well, we'll just start at the top, John, because we've had several requests. We've got some new people on the phone. And can you go through some of the earliest scientific history around the discovery of Immunotech enhancing property?
Yeah, the work that was done initially, it's interesting. Dr. Burns wrote about this and he explained this to me. The findings that they discovered, it was all serendipitous. So, the whole thing wasn't planned. And you have to understand that a lot of the money at that time came from the Canadian government. Dr. Bunos was a sponsored scientist, so he was getting millions from the Canadian government. The government would essentially provide the money based on, him submitting an application, and then they would come and review the data. But, around the time he started this research, the dairy industry in Europe was kind of at a crossroads, and because of the pollution the dairies were creating, they had to look at new forms of filtration. These new forms of filtration created whey protein, high quality whey protein, and he was sent a sample of this whey protein by scientists in Europe and said, see what you can do with this. And so they set up a series of experiments, Dr. Bunos and Dr. Kongshaven, and lo and behold, they found that, mice consuming this protein exhibited a very important immune response versus mice consuming other forms of protein. Now, what's important to understand is the nutritional value of all these proteins was similar. So something in this particular protein was causing this immune response. And they spent the next 15 years doing research trying to understand that. And eventually they, through circumstance and through partnerships with scientists in the same building, they discovered it was linked to glutathione, cysteine, and through an immune function model as well as a cancer model that was being worked on next door by Dr. Gerald Battist, who's one of the top oncologists in Canada and runs the translational research department at McGill University and is the chief of oncology at the Montreal Jewish General. They published a series of articles and began to understand mechanistically what happened, but the property came and went, and so they had to understand, what was causing that. And so through that research and through understanding mechanistically what was happening, they were able to perfect the process over time, and then developed a particular strategy around the production of the product.
And Dr. Bunos explained a very important concept to you, John, namely that Immunical has a non-specific effect on the immune response. What did he mean by that, and why is it such a powerful concept?
Yeah, so, I was so fortunate that I sat with Dr. Bunos in his office. I sat with him on planes, trains, and this is one of the things that he talked to me about. And this is, why this product, the concept is so powerful. You know, that most interventions, whether you're talking about vaccines, they develop vaccines to have a very targeted effect. And the problem is that the viruses are so smart. They've been around for millions of years. They can develop resistance. So they can mutate to that specific vaccine. So by the time the vaccine comes out, it may not be as effective. Whereas when you're talking about the immune system, the immune system responds differently to different stimuli. And Dr. Bunos explained to me that this empowers the immune system in a general way. So it doesn't matter, if you're talking about SARS, you're talking about AIDS, you're talking about a cold, you're still boosting the immune response or empowering the immune system to develop a full response to the stimulus. And, you can think of it this way, that if a person with AIDS gets a cold, it can kill them. A person that's taking Immunical and is in good shape, it may last a couple of days. So that's how important it is in terms of having a good immune system.
How is Immunical similar to human milk?
Well, again, they use this analogy, and Dr. Bunos used nature as his kind of North Star. And he talked to me about, the essential food for all mammalian neonates. And, the essential food contains these proteins that are rich in cysteine. So if you look at cow's milk is 80% casein, 20% whey, and human milk is the reverse. Actually, when the baby's born, human milk is 100% whey. Then when the baby's 3 months old, it's 80-20. So the key proteins that are found in human milk that benefit the baby also exist in cow's milk, but in a much smaller quantity. And so he discovered that, these are the key proteins that are exerting that effect. And so, in the production process of the whey, you have to preserve these proteins in their what's called native conformation or original form. Just like when you cook an egg, you change the appearance of the egg. The same thing can happen with these proteins. So that's where, the similarities exist.
Immunical was initially produced in a laboratory setting. What did Dr. Bunos do when they wanted to industrialize production?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, when they got this original shipment of whey and subsequent shipments, the property came and went, and they couldn't figure out why. And it had to do with the manufacturing techniques that were existing. The heat levels they were using were fluctuating. And so he developed a particular standard and methodology. And then when they looked at industrializing this process, he went around North America and visited the major dairies and looked at their systems, the way they produced whey. And he settled on one based on their methodology as well as the scientists. And so that's why he settled on Glanbia.
Now, when Dr. Bunos retired, Immunotech was fortunate to recruit Dr. Wolf Droga from the German National Cancer Institute. How were we able to do that?
Yeah, I can't tell you how fortunate we were. Dr. Droge, as we mentioned, was with the German National Cancer Institute. He's published, north of 300 articles. He worked at Harvard. He's a member of the Max Planck Institute, a biologist at the University of Heidelberg. And he told me that he had a stack of offers from pharmaceutical companies when he went into mandatory retirement at 65 at the German National Cancer Institute. And he came primarily to continue his research in glutathione, cysteine, in healthy aging, etc. So, we had a protocol set up to look at that at the French University Hospital. And so he came to Canada to do that. So it's primarily because of working with Immunical. He knew the quality of it, and he knew the company, and he knew how serious we were in research. And so, that says a lot about the company, because the most important thing to a scientist is his reputation. And he wasn't going to attach himself where, you're dealing with a suspect product or, a suspect management structure that's not committed to doing research. And so that's why we were able to attract him.
What are the human clinical trials that Dr. Droge played a key role in?
So I started the protocol with Dr. Bunos in non-small cell lung carcinoma, stage 4. Dr. Droge completed it with me and contributed to the article. So we published that, and then he did the study in healthy aging. We were able to show giving Immunical to a population of individuals between 65 and 85, 70% of which were women. We were able to increase physical strength compared to a placebo group by over 10%, which is very significant, because that placebo that we use is casein, and that's not a true placebo because there is an ergogenic effect with casein. So those are the two key articles that he did, and we subsequently used that performance study in combination with the study we did originally with Dr. Lanz in a model of aerobic exercise to submit to the Canadian government to get a performance claim.
Now, there was a specific health claim associated with Dr. Droge, I believe.
That's right. The first claim we got on immune function, he was the one who put together the whole file and submitted it to Health Canada, so that we were very fortunate to get that.
And Immunotech also was able to get a performance claim from the Canadian government. How did that work?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the two studies, the study in elderly adults, the study in 20-year-olds, where we showed an average performance increase of 13.5%. In the 22-year-old group, we sent both to the Canadian government, and at that time, what they had done, the whole regulatory environment had changed. So when we formed the company, we weren't allowed to make any claims, and they subsequently came up with new legislation where you were called a natural health product. And if you submit 2 clinical trials to the government, then you may get a claim based on the results of those trials. And so that's what we did together.
And now Dr. Droge developed Immunical Platinum. What went into his thinking as far as the ingredients?
Yeah, he was one of the world experts in the field of what's called redox medicine, so oxidation and reduction, and all the things that related to that. And so, there's a theory of aging that sits on that as well. And so he's one of the world experts in aging. And so he essentially went into focusing on that and developed a protocol around that.
Amazing. Well, John, this has been a privilege as always, educational. And even though we do this on a regular basis, you and I always learn something new every time, and I'm sure everybody else has. So thank you for your contribution for not just today, but for almost 3 decades with this project called Immunical. Thanks once again on everybody's behalf.
My pleasure.
And now we're going to turn the call over to Dr. Jeffrey McTavish over in London, England. And he may have a question for you too, John, if you could stick around a few minutes. I'm going to turn it to Dr. Jeffrey. And Jeffrey, at the end, if you would, please turn it back to me. I've got a couple of announcements to make.
I will. Yeah, thank you, John and John. John. Hey, Mr. Molson, how are you doing?
Good.
Good. Can you elaborate more on that sort of was it a patent that you got from Health Canada about the natural product, or because I understand it's a very, very stringent or very hard to get accolade of being a natural product. Can you just expand on that a bit? Because I was told by David Marshall a long time ago, but I can't remember the details at all.
So when we formed the company in 1997, you had 2 categories. You were either a food or a medicine. And, a food, you couldn't make any claim at all. And they eventually came out with a natural health product category, and they allowed some claims. And these are, you couldn't have a category one claim. In other words, you couldn't make a claim about curing diseases. So, we went after claims that fit into their model, and one of which was immune function in a general sense, where we didn't talk about diseases, but we just talked about empowering the immune system. And the second one was on performance. And so, what they said was that if you submit 2 clinical trials and you demonstrate in those clinical trials independently, and in this case, we showed a performance gain in a model of aerobic exercise, a performance gain in a model of resistance exercise in 2 different populations concerning, age groups, etc., that we could apply for the claim, and that's what we did. So we were able to get a performance claim based on those 2 clinical studies.
And to what advantage did that help with Immunotech when you got those?
Well, you're allowed to talk about, a big part of how you live your life, whether you're an executive, whether you're a housewife, whether you're, a working woman, a working man, an athlete, is all about how you move in your environment. And how you move in your environment has a great deal to do with your physical strength, your physical performance. And so, the way you move and how well you move also is very determinant on the quality of your aging process. And so your ability to move, the old saying is, as you age, the less you do, the less you can do. So a function, and this was a tenet of Dr. Droog's, the fact that in unhealthy aging, one of the things they see is a loss of muscle mass in the legs, combined with impairment of balance, which can cause elderly people to fall, etc. So performance, has applications across the demographic, not just for athletes, but it's central to our ability to lead a life where, we have strong muscles that support, everything else.
I want to just extrapolate on that a bit, because I know that you're a keen cyclist, and have you had some awards with your cycling? I can't remember.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you have. And then your son, who's really big in American football, yeah?
Right.
What impact has Immunical had on your ability for your sporting events that you've done and your recovery?
Well, unfortunately, when we formed the company, I was like at the tail end of my career. So I won my last Quebec championship in 1996, and we formed a company the following year. So that was it for me competing, because I also got married, in 95 and had kids and so forth. So my focus was on building the company. But, as I talk about, when I sat with Dr. Bunos, the whole company's focus initially was looking at, models of category 1 diseases. So, they were focused on immune deficiency in AIDS, immune deficiency in cancer. But with the regulatory environment, we couldn't build a business on that. And so I started talking to him about performance, and he became very interested in performance. And he said, as AIDS is the model of immune deficiency, the athlete is a model of the healthy adult. And so I started to, through my web of contacts, contact, current members and ex-members, and I'm talking about the best of the best, the world champion in Olympic distance triathlon, members of the Canadian teams, and eventually U.S. teams, etc. And the way to think about the benefits at that level is it's all about the minutia. And so, for elite athletes, if you can be even 1/4% better, and that's big, compounded over the year, those become big numbers at the end of the year. And so the person who said it best was the coach for Nike Oregon Track Club, who said, at this level, it comes down to 1%, and we feel Immunical gives us that 1%. So it's 1% across multiple aspects of, your performance. So it's how you recover, how your muscles repair themselves, how your muscles activate, how your muscles perform in competition, how your immune system responds to, the insults of competing, of traveling, etc. Detoxification, protection from the pollutants in the environment when you're training. So it's on multiple levels.
Can I just share the screen, Keith, a bit?
Yes, you can.
Good, because I just want to be able to show this slide. Can you see that at all? Or do I have to press a button that says allow you? Oh, share screen. Okay, sorry. Right, here we are. Share. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
This was done by Dr. Lewis here over in the UK, who's with Oracle, and I'm sure John is worked with him very much. He did this slideshow, which is, I think, the most powerful slideshow for people who are athletes, which is what we're sort of getting when John was talking about how would this product work with athletes. And, you hit the button on a lot of things right there, which was like pollution, maybe inactivity, dehydration. There's a lot of things that are going against the athlete when it comes to creating the antioxidants. And we don't want that. We want to have more antioxidants in the system. And so the whole idea that they were using, I think, if I'm correct, is they were looking at the ability to look at the unexplained underperformance syndrome, which the athletes that they were having there, it used to be a thing called overtraining syndrome, and how the Immunical could help with all of these things here to be able to balance this mechanism that's in our body that creates for an athlete the ability to not perform, or underperform. So he got this idea about putting together the whole idea of Immunical or Immunical Platinum, and the ability for this particular product to be able to provide in a natural form the amino acids for your body to do all the things it needs to do. Turn that into an antioxidant, turn it into something that will help modulate the immune system. Whatever it is, this particular product, all it can really do is provide a natural form in an active form to be able to create the ability to have this cycle to help with the athlete to get to help with this particular balance that is imbalanced a lot of times for most people. One of the things that's not on here, I would say, is oxidative stress from working out in an environment that's completely in a closed environment, which is blue light. But maybe I'll get in touch with Dr. Neil, because we have a mutual friend, and talk about that. But I really like those two slides because it gives you an indication, which John talked about, is that when we're looking at the ability for this product to help an athlete, whether you're a pro athlete or just a weekend warrior, the balance of what we're against from the natural environment to what we really need in our bodies. Our bodies have been subjected to so many different insults, whether it's going to be from the air or the food or the water or whatever, and stress, to the ability of our immune system to adapt to this. And I would say that this product really gives our body the ability to help us with being able to create an ability to improve our immune system and also the antioxidants which we require because of the fact that we are bombarded by so many things that create a redox difference, which is what John talked about earlier. And the fact that we are producing far more free radicals, particularly as we get older, that we really need this product. And John, if I could just ask, when we're looking at the athletes, how much prevalence would we look? You can unshare the screen now, Keith. How do you do that? You got the unshare there? Oh, stop share. Right. Okay. So one of the things that I was thinking about was how much this product can help those particular people who are, say, the aging athlete like myself. I'm 65. You know, how much can this product really help me in terms of being able to overcome the free radical pooling that we have just from a natural environment that we're in, plus also the extra amount of exercise that we do, and the importance that this has, this product, over other products that are in the marketplace that say, we can raise your glutathione, but it's not natural.
Yeah. There's one way to capture what it does for the average person, the athlete, the elite athlete, the elderly person, and that's that wonderful word called resiliency. So you see, if you're training athletes and you have 10 athletes, you'll see some, if you have a regular training schedule, some may arrive, at the middle of the training schedule where they still feel great, and others may feel somewhat fatigued, and maybe one or two feel very fatigued. And so we respond differently. And I asked Brian Moore, who's a hematologist and who is co-founder of Oracle, if he had to sum up how Immunical impacts these athletes, he talks about the resiliency. So what you're doing is you're giving the athlete a greater capacity to deal with all these different insults. And I would say the same thing to the elderly person, that there's, as we age, of course, we're losing certain things and our biochemistry is changing. And so the same thing that holds true for the young athlete who wants to train, we want to maximize our training envelope as well. And the thing is that after the fifth decade of life, there's a significant drop in tissue glutathione, organ glutathione, brain glutathione, and this can compromise our quality of life. So the key thing about all of this is prevention takes place every day. So it's supplementing every day that allows you, to arrive at a later age with the best chance to live a healthy life. Not just kind of like, waking up when you're 60 and deciding, okay, now I'm going to start to exercise. Now I'm going to start to take Immunical. It's doing a little bit all through your life.
Yeah. I just want to key point there where you said prevention. I had a patient who had a knee replacement, I think about 6 months ago, and she is in her 60s. And I said, look, at the best protocol you could do is prehabilitation for your knee. And the idea being is that you do a lot of stretching for your hamstrings and your quads and your adductors, all the muscles that affect the knee. Stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. But I also want you to add Immunical to your regimen before you have the surgery, because I know how much that the ability of your liver to detoxify the anesthetic is going to be far greater when you support the that organ with Immunical. And I remember David saying that there's some sort of a study that you guys did about prehabilitation for people who have had or done a course of Immunical or Immunical Platinum, the classic or the platinum, before they had surgery. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, that's we started that in 2014, and the first patient was colorectal cancer patients, and I asked the physician about this, and he said, you know, these patients come to me with colorectal cancer. They're typically elderly because they have colorectal cancer. They're typically not exercising, they're not eating properly, and they're in a very frail state. And so what they did was they gave them a light exercise program 30 days before. They gave them a nutritional plan together with 20 grams of Immunical as well as psychological support. And what they found was, you know, that surgery is a huge insult to the body. So it's like kind of running a marathon, you know. And so you get this big drop off. The thing is that the Immunical fed group didn't drop as low. So because they didn't drop as low, they recuperated quicker. Because they recuperated quicker, they started the chemo earlier, which is very advantageous. And then there was less secondary infection. So there wasn't readmittance to the hospital because of complications. And they ended up saving the hospital like $1,300, $1,500 per patient. And so the gentleman who was head of the Worldwide Congress is in Montreal, and I was on the foundation that helped finance all that research. And so we've used Immunical in all these different protocols, and it's being used now all over the world.
You know, I think that's so important. So we all know some people who are going to maybe have some surgery, whether it's minor or it's major, and whatever age. If it's even if it's a local anesthetic to a general anesthetic, the ability for our body to detoxify that is really implicated within the two systems and the detoxification systems of the liver, which Miriam had talked about earlier, as well as Dr. Anna, and how it is absolutely predicated on having good levels of glutathione. So we have this product that will absolutely feed our system naturally. And this is why I love this product, because John, you got the greatest gift of everybody else, is that you've been able to mirror what Dr. Bunos was talking about. And I just revere that. I just find it really fascinating and great, because we can talk to Dr. Bunos through you in terms of what actually happened and all the things that created this product and all the things that are created from this product in terms of its ability to change physiology in people's lives. And I absolutely just think that's fantastic. And I hope you stay on board for a long time, because we need you as this beacon, as a connection to this guy, Dr. Bunos, and Wolf Drog as well. I've got a couple of his books, and yeah, he's a genius. Both of them were geniuses. Absolutely fantastic. But the information they gave us was great, but the product we have is so simple but so amazing. And that's the simplicity of it, is getting that ability across to people, saying it's just a food, but guess what it's going to do? It's going to do boom, 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 boom. And people go, nah, it's not going to do that. I want to take something that's going to just give me instantaneously glutathione. Well, no, because we don't understand the fact that if you take a supplement, whether it's a glutathione liposomal delivery or whatever it is, your body still has to break that down into the individual enzymes, or sorry, the amino acids, and put them back together again. But if you don't have the proper enzymes to put all these things together, you're not going to make glutathione. And we go to a whole different topic with that. And did Dr. Bunis ever get into that fact of any ability for those SNPs, those single nucleotide polymorphisms, that people just may not be able to take the Immunical and create a glutathione at all? Did he ever explore that at all?
No, but what he looked at is, what you see in nature. And so milk is the essential food for all mammalian neonates. And in that milk are these protein compounds. And that to him represented the best delivery system. There are many different types of ways to increase glutathione, but the benefits you get with whey protein, it's glutathione plus, 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 because whey protein is, you have multiple protein fractions, which they in themselves have a benefit. You have peptides, growth factors, signaling factors. So it's like saying to someone, I want you to eat vitamin C versus taking, vitamin C sources from fruit. You tell me what's better over the long term.
Oranges. Everything that's natural is going to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your body knows what to do with all the elements. And I'm sure we're not clever enough as a species to know exactly what is in everything that we are exposed to and eat, et cetera, et cetera. If you'd never been exposed to Immunical, do you think that you would have the life you have now in terms of how it impacted on you and your sport, even though that you came to it as after you finished your sport career, but you kept on being a sporty person? How would have, I mean, how much does that impact you, and how much would it have created a change if you didn't have it? Do you see your life before and then never having it and then after?
It's like if you're a painter and you pick up painting from reading a book, looking at videos, or you got to paint with Leonardo da Vinci. So I learned it from Dr. Bunos, and that is what had a profound impact on me, because not only was it about the science, it was about listening to him, how he interpreted the science, how he thought about the science, and how he explained it to me, which is, was what impacted me and changed my life.
So why don't you write a book, John? Because we would all buy the book
Yeah.
10 times over and then distribute it to people, because you're that second messenger from Dr. Bunos, but you've seen it from a different point of view. And if you want to write a book, I'm sure you'd be extremely successful, and it just do it. But yeah.
Can I ask you a favor? I was interrupted when John was asking me a question on platinum, and so I was totally distracted. So I'd like to answer the question now. Okay. First of all, what you have to understand about platinum, and this has not been advertised, but the cysteine content of platinum is higher than regular Immunical. So the theoretical effect on glutathione is greater when you consume platinum versus Immunical. And that to me is a very, very important benefit. There's also been work done, and we don't talk about this experimentally, on the anti-cancer effect of this fraction that's in platinum. So you're also probably getting a benefit there. Now, the reason that the creatine is in there is, as Dr. Droog talked about it, he was essentially developing this product for the elderly segment. And, the elderly segment, to a certain degree, you develop insulin resistance. And through his research work, taking a small amount of creatine may alleviate this insulin resistance. In addition, the diet of the elderly person becomes more acidic through their food choices. And he explained to me that this acidity is a cause of osteoporosis. And so by boosting or normalizing the acid alkaline balance, then you reduce the risk of developing osteoporosis. So you're getting those benefits together with the increased cysteine content found in platinum. And so that was the thinking. And that's what I wanted to say originally with John, but my mind went blank because someone was walking past. So I'm not as good as I used to be.
Need to take more Immunical.
That's it. Well, I just came out of the California sun playing 2 hours of tennis, so I think I had sunstroke or something. So,
Keith, back to you, mate.
Actually, back to me.
Oh,
Okay.
John, sorry.
Well, Dr. Jeffrey, thank you. Amazing as always. John Molson, incredible. Hopefully everybody's learned some things this afternoon. Keith will make this available on XYZ Tools and also on several of the WhatsApp groups that we have now, not only one for the UK, but also one that I want to reference to everyone. And that's one, and I put it in the notes. That's why I turned my camera off. I wasn't being impolite. I wanted to hype without falling over my speaker that I use here for these calls. So anyway, it's called DACH, D-A-C-H, Open Immunotech. DACH. The DACH region, for those of you not familiar, is Germany, Austria, Switzerland. And we are in business in those three countries. We are about to open Switzerland very aggressively here in the next month. And Germany and Austria are on the horizon. I'm going to introduce you to somebody here in a minute that's going to tell you a little bit more real quick. But anyway, next Wednesday, there's no UK and Ireland call. Okay, because we're doing these every other week. So our next call for the UK and Ireland specific, anyone English basically in the world, is 2 weeks from now, which is, I believe, July 10th already. So keep in mind that. But next Wednesday, if you go up and you get into Doc Open Immunotech on your WhatsApp, on your phone, okay, if you haven't done so already, some of you looking around already have, we will have a call in both English and German. First one. No idea how big it's going to be. No idea how many people are going to come. I want all you guys to come. I want you to bring your downlines and your friends and your whoever. But we're going to start the first one, right? Because you got to start somewhere. Like Jim Rohn said many times, just start. So I don't know if there's going to be 5 people on that call or 50. But there's a lot of enthusiasm for the German market. We have people on this call, I know, looking around, Patricia, Italian, Wally, Mary, et cetera, that have contact capital in those markets. So once again, we'll put the information on there. Now, we're not using a flyer for that call because with it being 2 languages, the flyer would be, 4 pages long. So we're using a video instead that we did earlier today, okay? And you got a video that you can just send and it'll have the Zoom information on it, the time on it, etc. So please get it out. Okay. This is next Wednesday. The time may be a little different than this time because it's 7 p.m. in Germany, being the first call, 7 p.m. Germany. So I think in the UK, it's an hour earlier. So I think it's 6 o'clock.
An hour ahead for us. Yeah.
Ahead or behind, Jeff?
Ahead of us. Yeah. So we're behind.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So it's an hour ahead. So those of you in the UK, and Ireland, it's an hour ahead of you. If you're in Spain, I think it's the same time. But anyway, you can figure that out. Just do what I do before all these calls when they're international. I go to Google and I put in, what time is it in wherever, so you don't mess it up, okay? So we want you to be there, want your contacts to be there. Now, our good friend, Dr. Miriam Feil, is going to be speaking on that call in German. Some of you in the UK know Dr. Feil, okay? She's a great lady, a very, very, very great product story with Immunical. And she will be speaking probably in English as well, but also in German. Okay, so this is really our first call. I'm excited about it. I was talking to Mauricio earlier. He's excited about it. So we're all excited about it. Hopefully you're excited about it. I know I'm excited about it. But what I want to do real quick here, I know you guys have been sitting a long time here. I know you have other things to do certainly today. We're at month end. But I want to introduce real quick the gentleman that's going to be running sales in both Germany and Austria. And that's a new friend of mine. You guys are going to love this guy. Keith and I spent some time with him earlier today, and that is Mr. Stefan Strump. And Stefan, if you would too, at the end, just put your details in the chat, if you would, if anybody wants to reach out to you between now and next week. So, Stefan, welcome to the call. Welcome to Immunotech. You're meeting a lot of people for the first time. I know you met some on Saturday, but we got more.
Thank you so much, John, for this warm welcome. Yes, I'm really happy to be here and had already the pleasure to talk to John, to Keith, to Mauricio, and also to Aurelio, who is responsible for the European market. So I am with the company now for 14 days, technically. So I went to Madrid to pick up the laptop you see me here in, and today I received the products here in Germany. Hopefully you can see that a little bit. No, you cannot because of the background. So I have Immunical here on my desk. And what you need to know about me, I'm 47 years old, 17 years in the industry already. And so I'm really happy to start everything from the scratch. And as we all know, it will not be possible without you. So I need you more than you need me. But I'm happy to be here and doing all the background stuff already. So I started to make all the translations for the printing materials, web content, all the PowerPoint presentations we need, product related, business related, compensation plan related. So that's my daily job right now. So I'm really in the beginning. I do my daily training calls with the headquarters in Mexico and Houston, Texas. So just to bring me up to speed. So, and I'm more than happy and thankful that John and Keith invited me to touch base and find the right way together. So that's the short story about me.
Great. And we had our first call yesterday with actual prospects in Nuremberg. So if you have people, because we're not open yet. So Stefan's busy dealing with all his corporate stuff, but he's not busy 24 hours a day. If you have some people in either of those markets and you say, hey, I'd like to do a call with the guy that's going to run sales there and connect the dots like I am. I'm in Dallas. I'm connecting people in Nuremberg. I don't know, 6,000 miles from my front door. So that he knows them, they know him, they've got access to each other, emails, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. Stefan's going to put his info in there. I want to get this guy busy. I want him busy 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for the next 2 months until we launch. Okay. Now, I know Mick is on here from Paris. Wave, Mick, so Stefan sees you. How are you? Mick is good. Mick lives in Paris. I know some of you have contact capital in France, as well as Switzerland. Switzerland will be opening in July. I do not have a date. We will update you once again. That's why I'm creating all these WhatsApp groups or trying to. I think I finally figured out the other day how to do it right so you guys can put content in there. Anyhow, Switzerland is opening. Okay, we're ready to roll in the Swiss market. We're not ready yet in France, Germany, and Austria. Germany, Austria, September 1st is the target. And France also September 1st is the target. What we're waiting for, just for Mick's benefit and anyone else with people in France, I know Wally's got some people there, is actually hiring a regional manager that speaks French as a first language and English as a second. Once again, we've got a Spanish company, so, English is the common language. So that's in process. Aurelio is working on that very aggressively. So anyway, that's the little bit of delay there, but being a pioneer is never easy. Okay. So, but it will be worth it. These markets are going to be very, very good for Munich Tech and Cal. And, if we had another 2 hours, I would have John Molson go through everything that Wolf Droge contributed to the company and Dr. Luc Montagnier from the Pasteur Institute contributed to the company. Most of you are familiar with both, but just those two gentlemen, think about it. German, French. So you have reference points in those markets as you recruit people, whether you live there or not. You have reference points to research done down the street from your house or wherever it happens to be. Okay, it's not like, oh, I'm going to tell this North American story and everything was done in Montreal or at Harvard or at Stanford or at McGill. No, you got stories about the National German Cancer Institute in Heidelberg. You've got stories about the Pasteur Institute in Paris with two. In one case, a Nobel Prize winner, and frankly, Droge should have won one too. I don't know why he was never nominated, but he certainly should have been. Two world-renowned researchers on your shores. So don't lose that fact as you're talking to people in these markets. So anyway, that's all I had, guys.
And one more thing, John, we have Dr. Bunos from Italy.
Dr. Bunos from Italy, and well, for that matter, Dr. Kamshaven, born and raised in England.
UK.
So, I don't know why it took us so long to get to Europe, but, like we say in Texas, there's a bumper sticker in Texas, and I'm not a native Texan, but it says, I'm a Texan now. I don't know what it took me so long to get here. But when it's 104 like it is today, I wonder why I ever came here. But anyway, that's another story. So I appreciate everybody's time.
One last thing, John. One last thing. If they want to go to chat, and there's a YouTube link there. That is the invitation that we did earlier today. So if you want to grab it right out of the chat so that you can share it with people regarding that July 3rd, it's right there. Click the link, pull it up, and you can share it. Okay. Right. And John Molson, it's not elderly. It's anybody over the age of 50. When you talk about elderly people, I'm starting to feel the pain there. So let's move that back. Anybody over 50?
Keith, as long as Wally is here, none of us will ever feel old.
That's true. That's true. We can pick on if we got him muted. All right. Thank you all for being here. John, thank you very much. Stefan, thank you. All of you that are here. Thank you, Dr. Jeffrey. As always,
Hey,
solid, great job.
Hey, Keith, you could turn the recording off for a minute. I got to ask Mick a question while Stefan's here. Rest of you are welcome to stay, or you can go if you got other stuff to do as well.